I'm turning mine on silent too because oh boy, the life of a first sergeant is one heck of a life.
I was
Let me tell
wondering
you.
if you had a good weekend.
We'll talk about that here in a second. So, welcome everybody to Conflict of Leadership Coffee Table Edition. I am your shenanigans coordinator, Tim Copeland, and across from me is Burt
That's right.
Reynolds. You're only half as handsome
I
as
can
Burt
try.
Reynolds. I'm sorry. Uh-huh. So, who are you actually?
All right. What name should I start with? Gerald, Jigglemiah, JJ, Josephine now.
Yeah. He is the silly goose.
I got too many names to keep track of.
We really do. We really do. But today we will be tentatively here closing out its very long series on toxic leadership and this new brand of toxic leadership. Kind of what we've been talking about. We've been spitballing here before the start of the show already, and yeah, it's gonna be a wild ride today. I think so. I guess let's go to the intro. Okay. So good grief.
Grief is right. Golly, man.
Yeah, so just kind of give some context to what we were talking about before the show started. So we've been in this whole conversation about toxic leadership and whatnot, and just this new brand of everybody's fine, everybody's part of the team. Don't push on anyone too hard because you'll drive them away, and it's really what's kind of playing in here right now. That you got this guy who he's come from he's come from the West Coast. He's got a couple years experience out there, at least as a firefighter. Come to the East Coast, got experience as a firefighter and EMT or paramedic or whatever, but yet still just doesn't seem to like have mastered the basics of what the job is, or it's like, yeah. I mean, you want to speak to that just a little bit, or I mean, you don't have to tell the whole story, but
that's the thing.
Okay.
Part of it is they don't believe he had good leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it, I believe, is true laziness. It's a mixture of both.
Mm-hmm.
And when if you're going to be lazy and you're dealing with people's lives, get out. Because that's when you get hurt, you hurt somebody else or even kill them. And now you're liable.
Mm-hmm. What's the old saying? You can either be lazy or you can be stupid, but you can't be both. This is one of those cases.
And, and when you've been told multiple times, dude, get your head out of your rear multiple times from multiple people. Maybe you should okay, what am I doing wrong? How do I fix this so I don't do this anymore? But when you don't take that initiative to correct it, be a better person, be a better clinician, that's on you.
Well, and I think this honestly, because we're going to talk today about what do we do with this new brand of toxic leadership? What we do to actually move forward on the line firefighter level? And also I guess maybe on the cosmic level for fire service. What can fire service do? But this is 100% like just the result of that mentality of everybody's fine, you'll be fine, everything will be fine. And he is somebody who no one ever
really mentored him.
Yeah. It's like that mentorship was gone, and in order to make him feel welcome and whatnot. And honestly, we're guilty of that too, because when he came to us, we didn't push as hard as we wanted to. Of course, we were departmentally, we were in a very weird space too, but we're a part of that.
Technically, he shouldn't been let go.
Yeah.
You didn't complete everything when you were required to. And they gave him leeway. And then now look where we are.
Yeah. Well, it's hard whenever Rome is burning around you, which a lot of departments feel like it is. They look around, people are leaving, they can't keep their experienced guys, they can't match pay. Rome's burning, and they're like, we gotta do something. Well, it must be that we're being too hard on people. That's what's driving people away. And that was part of it. There was a sect of that was doing it. But at the end of the day, the problem goes so much deeper
Oh,
than
it
just
does.
being mean to people.
Big
And
time.
you know,
And like that's just the tip of the iceberg,
it wasn't the beer.
We all didn't just stare at it. But yeah, I mean, it's the tip of the iceberg. That 90% of the problems are underneath of the water.
Hmm.
You got to get to the bottom as much as you can to figure out what's really wrong. How can we correct it? How can we make it better? How can we fix it? And not just for a short period of time. We got to do long term. You
Hmm.
know,
Well, it's like we talked last week that all the things we're seeing right now with the way that most of the leadership in the fire service, and we spoke a lot about private ambulance last week, but where it's going is we see this. They see the surface level, but they don't see the real
they don't see the
causes.
roots.
Yes, and it's killing
Mhm.
us because it's like you're having a heart attack, right? You're having a heart attack. You give nitro. Nitro can make the
Mhm.
pain go away. So in some cases, if it's not full occlusion, it makes it go away entirely. And it's kind of the same way as somebody who has
Yep.
unstable angina. You give them nitro, and they take their nitro, and it goes away. Um, it gives you a false sense of security because you feel like you've done something when you haven't. And then by the time we get called, it's like they're having the big one. They're like, I don't get it. My nitro's always worked. I'm like, yeah, dude, you were having chest pain for a reason. Your chest pain wasn't just because you're having a
Right.
bad day. And it's the same thing here, is that like, all these things are happening for a reason. What are they? What is the precipitating factor or factors that's
Yeah,
driving
and
this?
until you figure out what those factors are, you're not going to figure out why everything's going the way it is. Why are
Mm-hmm.
people leaving? Why do people want to go from full time to part time or PRN? Because
Mm-hmm.
they're getting fed up with things.
Yeah. That's another huge one. Like I've seen more people who have said, I don't want to work full time anymore. I don't care about the pension. I don't care about the vacation. I'd rather just make my own hours and just work
Hmm.
part time. And it's like, dude, there's how, why? And I understand those benefits, but it's like there's far reaching like things
Hmm.
against you.
You know, our biggest problem is people not wanting to work full time. But
Mm-hmm.
I see why they're not. Because when you work full time, you kind of get shafted, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not fair to us. Especially because I'll give a good example.
Yeah.
Monday, we're in our area. We got
Mm-hmm.
told to drive an hour and a half up north to
Yeah.
take somebody zero point 0.2 miles across the street,
Mm-hmm.
and then go from another hospital, drive 50 minutes to drop them off at home, and then
Mm-hmm.
get held over 2.5 hours. Well, it was like two
Yeah.
hours. This is why people are leaving.
Yeah.
You can't logistically figure out where we are. They see a little bit of line on a map, like, oh, that's a short trip. That's not a short
Yeah.
trip. This is going to take us well over our off time. But then when we say, hey, this is going to hold us over significantly, and they're like, oh no, it's not. I'm like, do you not realize just to get there is an hour and 30 minutes, and
Mm-hmm.
then get up to the floor, get the patient and everything else. That's probably say 15, 20 minutes. There, and that's if things go smooth. And
Mm-hmm.
then back to the truck and then drive it. And like, you guys don't realize how much time this really takes. You see this little short trip in town, you got drive time into the Florida. It's
Mm-hmm.
an easy 1 hour trip.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is that we never take into account any of the
No.
background stuff that it takes to do any of this stuff. So it's to take a structure fire, right? So whatever the national average is to detection of a structure fire, let's just say for sake of ease in numbers here, it's 7 minutes. Okay, 7 minutes from the time a structure fire starts to when somebody recognizes the house is on fire, smoke start to push out the windows, or they're starting to see flames, whatever. And then we look at our response time, and I'm skipping a
Mhm.
section here, but bear with me. But then we look at our response time and we say, oh, our response time of 8 minutes must be why the fire got out of control. Our response time must have been. Well, okay, so 8 minutes plus seven, you're already 15 minutes in the hole. What about how long does it take for somebody to call 911 to calm themselves down enough? Because everyone's heard those dispatch tapes of people, the house is on fire, house fire. Where's the house? What the house? Which house? My
Okay,
house. Oh,
well, where's your house?
which
We're
house
talking
is
about 20
yours?
minutes at this point.
Yeah. And so we look at it and but the only numbers we look at is, well, what was the fire department response time? Well, that's only one part of a much larger data set. And if you hone in on that, like my full time department has done that in the past, where they have honed in on, oh well, guys, our queue time getting out the doors, like if it's not less than 2 minutes, which is the national standard, but it's not less than 2 minutes. I mean, it's like, yeah, but even if it is, and then you look at the whole call and you're scratching your head and wondering, well, why'd that call take you an hour and a half? Let's see here, because and their thing is like, oh, you must not be getting out the door fast enough. You guys must be taking
Mhm.
your time. It's like, or maybe it was trauma that took a prolonged extraction time for the residents, the vehicle, or whatever. We had to go. We had to go to a specialized facility, and we were in the farthest reaches of the township, and we all end up having to spend time restocking and
Yeah.
all these things to look at. But when you look at just the base numbers, it's like you come to conclusions that are wildly inaccurate because you don't know what else is going
Yeah, I mean,
on.
you gotta look at the whole picture. You can't just look at little snippets of it. It's like reading a book. You gotta
Mhm.
start from beginning to end. You can't just like,
Yes.
"Oh, we're just gonna pick this page right here." Okay, well, why did it take you guys from on scene time to transporting time? Why did it take you 12 minutes? Or why did it take
Mhm.
you 40 minutes?
Mhm.
Well, the patient wasn't ready. You call, ask us instead of just picking it.
Mhm.
Look at the whole thing. Like me,
Yeah.
when our dispatch at my full time job doesn't dispatch us properly, I make sure I
Mhm.
put in my narrative dispatch delay. I actually
Yeah.
been told to stop doing that, and I won't do it because it makes their times look bad. I'm like, well, I'm not
Mhm.
gonna fudge times because they can't do their job.
No.
I'm like, they need to be held accountable just as much as we do because I'm not getting in trouble
Mhm.
for this.
Well, I think you bring up a thing that's this is true of basically any system. So, so you want me to tell you about how the weekend went. So, for listeners, I recently just took over. I shouldn't say took back over. I'm returning to this battalion, but this is my first time actually in the battalion and actually in this position. I've took over as a company first sergeant, and there's a lot of moving parts in the HHD. There, higher headquarters division. There is a ton of moving parts. Um, and so I took over, and it'd be very easy for me, and it was initially for me to look at the whole thing like, what is going on here? But then to realize, oh, this is not just a systemic issue, or this is not just a, systemic issue. This is actually an issue of individual components too. This is an issue of some people are not doing their job. Some people are doing their job and someone else's job. Some people are doing less than what their
Mhm.
expectation is. Other people are doing absolutely nothing. And so when you look at it and you just kind of blanket over, oh, well, this must be the cause. Well, no, it's all of them together. It's every single position from the company commander, first sergeant, all the way down all have a
Yes.
role to play. Part of it was some of their previous leadership was not strong in certain areas. Let it go. Some of them they filled in. They did a great job filling in, but they didn't want the position, so they just they filled in and moved on with life. Some of them were put in positions too low of rank to actually affect what they needed to get done, and it crippled them. So yeah, it's like kind of getting into the heart of the issue is there's no one fix that's going to make all this go away. There's no one fix to toxic leadership to make it go away. It is a complete revamping of the way you look at leading
Absolutely,
entirely.
it is. And you got to look, and sometimes you have to listen to your employees. Now,
Yes,
some of them are just going to complain just to complain. You got to
absolutely.
weed the bull crap out. But the legit ones, like the safety issues, maintenance issues,
Mhm.
staff issues, personnel issues, listen to them.
Yeah.
Get a good idea of what is going
Mm.
on. Like, let's say, like, biggest one for us
Mm.
is the holdovers. Listen
Yeah.
to that. Listen to what we have to say. Then then okay, how can we fix this?
Mhm.
What can we start doing? Okay,
Yes.
and with staffing. Sometimes our staffing is absolutely terrible, especially
Mm.
on weekends. Imagine that. But they're also not holding those people that are part-time accountable for
Mhm.
those hours and those weekend shifts they're
Yeah.
supposed to be working.
Mhm.
We'll start holding them accountable. S-
Yes.
Start putting your foot down. You don't have to be a jackwagon about it, but you got to be stern. Listen, you haven't met none of your hourly requirements.
Mhm.
What's going on?
Yeah.
When years ago, I I didn't meet my requirements, and I got told if I don't finish my requirements by the end of the week, I was terminated.
Mhm.
But yet we pick and choose people to do that to instead of
Yes.
system wide, like because people see that and they keep doing it because they're getting away with it.
Well, and it's funny you bring that up because everyone has a
Yeah.
sob story. We say it's about patience, and it's like, but this is where it gets tricky. And I don't want to say that just to be kind of elusive to the actual problem, but where it gets tricky is that, like, okay, to what extent are you willing to give
Hmm.
leeway? Now, I get that everyone has an issue. Okay, I when I was a drill sergeant, there was many times where I would grab another drill. It's like, hey, drill, come here. Hey, we're gonna leave this alone for right now because this is what's going on in the background. I realize you
Yeah.
don't know about it, and I'm not gonna undermine you in front of them. But just so you know, what you're pushing them on right now is not actually the problem, or it's not their problem. There's another issue at play here. But then there's also comes a point at which you have to look and say, "Hey, this is the reality. We're not playing around. This is reality." But the problem, the problem I see, because we're having it where we work too, part time. That there's no intermediate
Right.
step right now between final solution termination of an employee and, hey, we have leeway and grace for you not
Yeah.
picking up hours. We were talking about this the other day, and I brought up the thing. It's like you have 32 hours a month to fulfill. If you were that one who is consistent with 16 hours, you're probably less likely to be hemmed up over something. Especially if you give your 16 hours on the weekend consistently. You're less likely. Now, are you definitely below the required 32? Absolutely. But you're consistent, you're
Exactly.
dependable versus the one who picks up 8 hours and shirks off the 8 hours to
Mhm.
someone else and then never picks up anything else. Yeah, that's who's going to get you hemmed up. But there's no intermediate ground where we can put that, because that's where that 16-hour person falls. You're not putting in anything at all,
Mhm.
termination. You got your middle ground, 16 hours, and then you have your safe ground, your 32 hours. We do away with that, and we lump anyone into the termination group, or susceptible termination, because we're just so fed
Right.
up with it. It's a problem from creation.
It's a problem for everyone.
Hmm.
I mean, like you said, the ones that are putting their times in consistently, they're dependable. They don't make it okay. They're going to get a little bit of leeway, but the ones that are,
Yeah.
they're one 8 hour shift here, 8 hour shift there. Oh God, I'm having another stroke,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
then they're pawning it off, but nobody, nothing's happening to them, and
Hmm.
people see that, and are
Yes.
sometimes people are very noticeable with stuff like that. Like, oh well,
Hmm.
they're getting away with that, but yet I didn't meet it this 1 month, and now I got a talking to. That's not fair. And then
Yeah.
they can say, well, you said something to me, not said something to them. Why not?
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know?
Well, and here's where I would kind of put it is that oh crap, I just had it here. It just disappeared. It's the beer. It's the beer. It made it disappear. Um,
Oh Lord.
yeah, nope, nope. I'm tasting almonds. I'm tasting almonds. Am I looking the wrong
No,
way?
you're good.
Crap. Okay, I forgot. I forgot. I had something to go off of what you were saying there, and it flew away. It flew away. But anyways, no, and that's it's difficult to want to information is very difficult to
Yes.
parse through because you gather stuff like who's late, who doesn't do their job, who doesn't, and you kind of have to do something with that. You collected it, you learned about it. How many times have you heard a boss say, "I wish you hadn't told me that because now I have to do
Mm-hmm.
something about it." They can't just walk away because somebody is going to hold them. They're like, if something happens, well, you knew about it, and you didn't stop it. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, but there's this fine line in taking information and then parsing out what is actually reasonable to care about and what
Right.
is not.
It's like I'm very like, listen, at least show up on time
Mhm.
and do what you're here to do. Do your job,
Yeah.
and then you won't have no issue.
Mhm.
Like my place, my full time job, people are constantly showing up late. They don't want to do their jobs. They were complaining when they have to go do a call,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this is what you're freaking getting paid for.
Mhm.
See ya. Goodbye. Get out and do your job.
Yeah.
You've been sitting here
Yeah.
sleeping for the first 6 hours of your shift.
Mhm.
Now you still want to complain?
Well, now you're stumbling into, and I've made it very clear, I will never teach in academia as a fire instructor. I refuse to teach in academia. And here's why, because you're stumbling into something that we are all sold. This is honestly, let's be honest, this is why most people become firefighter, EMT, paramedics, is because we love the schedule. 1 day on, 2 days off. I get to sleep at work, nap all day. You talk to any police officer, and they will tell you, "Oh yeah, the firefighters are always napping. They're always in the recliners and
Chew
whatnot."
Toy
And
knows that the best.
yeah, absolutely, he's become one of
Yeah.
us. He has
You just
become
need to
one
fill out
of
that
us,
application.
right? But no, it's like that is what we
Yeah.
sell people on. But the problem is, and I've said this before, that if only you knew what it took to get to that position, to get to that point where you can go and rack out the recliner for an hour
Mhm.
during shift. If only you knew, it's like, we don't do that. And anymore, the Chiefs don't tell you, hey, you're going to work hard. You're going to learn your job. When you learn your job, you can rest hard, but you have to work hard and play hard
Yeah. I
first.
remember years ago our other chief. We were not
Mhm.
allowed to do anything until after he left for the day.
Yeah. Which I don't totally
I
see as
didn't mind.
completely
No.
unreasonable. I had some minor
Yeah.
issues with it, but
The
overall,
things
like
they
if
make us have us do, I'm like, we shouldn't be doing this.
I'm not about finding
Yeah.
busy work, but if there's things to do, yeah, by all means, when the chief is there, when the boss is there, yeah, do those things.
It's not
Don't,
hard. Because
yeah.
when I would come in, I would I would fight over the firehouse reports. I'm like, no, I
Mm-hmm.
want to do them, or
Yeah,
there'd be so many that we just split them. I
yeah.
made sure I procrastinated with those.
You ate up some time a little bit.
Sometimes a couple hours doing those.
Well, I remember one Sunday I was still on probation, and it was me, Andrew King, and Steve Finley, and I was so geared in, and this is the negative side of that. I was so geared into staying busy. I mopped those floors. I made that floor mopping job last hours. I'm not even joking. I started mopping the floor at like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. And it's just a little loop. But I made that job last like 4 hours to the point where finally Steve looks at me like, dude, what are you doing? Just mop it. It's Sunday. He's not gonna be here. It's just mop the floor and be done, dude. But at the same time, too, that's stay gainfully employed would be
Yeah.
my thing. And to to those who are the ones who organize things, because this is something I knew as a squad leader, this things I knew as a drill sergeant, and I'm definitely putting in now. There is certain busy work that does need to be done. The dusting does need to be done at some point. The vacuuming, the mopping, the reorganizing the bookshelf. Okay, that stuff does need to be done at some point. But don't make that like your go-to just because you want to keep people busy. If people have been working hard and been doing stuff,
Yeah.
cool. Let them relax. Leave them alone. There's nothing that you can't make the next crew do that they haven't
Yeah,
done
I mean,
already.
like, when I was there on Tuesday, I was doing some
Mhm.
research for Chief
Yeah.
for those new vests we got, you know? She wants
Yeah.
a container to put them in, so we just grab
Mhm.
them from the shelf and put them in the truck, and,
Yeah.
I've found some. I didn't get there today to grab the vest to take them to the store to make sure they fit, but, you know,
Yeah.
I I was doing something that needed to be done instead of just
Mhm.
sitting there. Most
Yeah.
people would have never taken that initiative to, like, "Hey, let me help you make this easier on you because we
Yeah.
know how she is." Anything, especially you and I, there's most of
Yeah.
us too, will do what we can to help make her day less stressful as much as we
Yes. Well, but that's the other thing too is that whenever you're geared that like you're gonna come in and relax and do nothing, then whenever those things come up that seem menial, like it's like there's no interest in doing it. This is what I've been trying to um tell Emma and Spencer is that you need to just start doing things. You need to just take not just take that initiative, but go ask her what needs done. She's going to
Mhm.
tell you 8 times in the afternoon.
Yep.
Nothing, nothing. It's all good. I'm good. That ninth time, though, she's gonna say, you know what? Actually, if you can do this one little thing, it would
Yep.
really help out a lot. And go do it. Go do it like your life depends on it because it does to
Yeah.
actually growing as a firefighter. Now, what she realizes is like, oh hey, I have to let these guys do things. I have to at some point let them do something. But then it also helps you because now you start learning how to actually be a part of
Yeah.
this whole team, this whole group of firefighters, and actually know what needs to be done.
Yep.
It astounds me. This is like the one thing about this whole branding of like niceness, and we're a family mentality of this toxic leadership that they never share what actually
No.
needs done.
And
Like when they bring up a standard, I'm sure you've had this. Like they say, "Oh, we've always done this. This is a policy." And this is like, no one has ever shared that with me. Why have you not shared that
right,
with
like
me?
my partner in my full-time job, she's the same way though. But
Mhm.
she also knows she can't rely on most people.
Yeah,
Well, certain people ask her, "Hey, what do you need help with?" She'll say nothing, nothing. And when those
yeah,
people leave, I'm like, what do you need help with?" She's like, "I really need you to do this," because she knows I will get it done right away instead of
yes,
30 minutes from now or the next day.
yeah,
Like, no, this needs to be done today, not tomorrow
mhm,
or next week. She knows she can count on me. But you're
yeah,
right. Like that ninth time, like, "Ashley, I need you to do this for me." That's all it takes.
yes.
I'm very good at pestering her. "What do you need done? What do you need help with? Anything I can
Mhm.
do?" "No? Okay. Alright, fine. I see the windows need clean. I'm gonna just go
Yeah,
clean the windows just because,
yeah.
you know?
Mhm. Well, and,
You're
and
doing it
again,
without
too,
being
that's
asked to. 'Cause
well,
it's
but
our home."
it is our home. But you have to have someone taught you at some point. Hey, this
Mhm.
needs to be done. Hey, if there's nothing else to do and you're kind of looking for something to do, go wipe down the
Yeah.
tables. Hey, go wipe down the kitchen. The stove can always use a quick wipe down. It always can use a quick wipe down. A truck could. There's a truck. I promise you, we have 9 trucks in our fleet. No, like 11 trucks in our fleet. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight,
Yeah.
nine. No, 9. We have 9 trucks in our fleet. I promise you, one of them needs wash, and that takes you
Mhm.
25 minutes. Like it doesn't take. It takes you almost longer to get everything assembled to do it than it does to actually physically
Heck, I'll
do
wash
it.
trucks all day. Ain't gonna bother me.
No,
Keeps
no,
me busy. I'm
no,
doing it without being
no.
told.
But at the same time, too, it's like to the other side because you brought up something interesting because this is what I face is so someone comes and says, "Hey, what needs done?" I have a list of things that need done. Out of that list of things that need done, very few of them are like the right
Right.
now needs to be done, and those need to be done right now. I've already have in my mind who I'm going to do it to. Do I care when you sweep or mop the ambulance? No, I don't. Now, it doesn't need done. Yeah, but if do I even care if you don't do it right then and you forget? No. At the end of the day, it doesn't look bad, quote unquote, to patients. Yes, it does. Families and whatnot. Yes, it does. But at the end of the day, it's dirt. It's dirt. Whether you do it, the next oncoming crew does it. It doesn't matter. So stop turning people against each other over stuff like that. Stop saying, "Oh, well, so and so just
Mhm.
never does it." And just say, "Okay, well, hey, that crew didn't do it. We got to do it today." You know, neither here nor there, Stop encouraging people to like, "Oh, hey, we all need to work as a team. Maybe you need to pull your weight." Well, that person might be pulling their weight in another way.
Exactly.
You, I could think of somebody who does all the EMS supply ordering, you know, and it's like, okay, hey, that's a huge
No,
task.
absolutely.
So if in all honesty, if they don't want to do anything else throughout the day, I don't necessarily blame them because that is a never ending, never complete, never really adequately done job. You're always short
Oh,
something.
absolutely.
So
Just like
so
whatever day. Well, Tuesday,
yeah.
we're finishing
Yeah.
the truck check. I found the AD pads in the monitor of the
Mhm,
engine. I'm like,
mhm.
oh, these are way expired by 2 years.
Yeah.
And she got pissed. She's like, there's no way. I just replaced those. Who put those in there? I'm like, oh, I always check the pads.
I don't know, but they're expired now. What do you want me to tell
There's
you?
new ones in there, but she don't
Uh,
know where these expired ones came from because they were
mhm.
smashed in the back storage
Oh,
compartment.
oh
And
yeah.
she's like, those are not supposed to be. I'm like, well, no shit, Sherlock. Like, I know
Yes.
that, but I didn't know you replaced new ones. But I was like,
Yeah.
oh, people haven't been checking them
Mhm.
until I do.
You're yeah. Well, and there comes the other thing too is that at the end of the day, and this is what drives me nuts, is that and I've been through this many times where it's like, the chief goes and does a
Mhm.
spot check and then immediately determines because they found one mistake, oh, I know people are pencil whipping stuff because they found this one mistake or they found this one there. Okay, yes. And let's air something out real quick right now. Pencil whipping happens in a fire service, finance, machine shops, auto body mechanic shops. It
Everywhere.
happens everywhere. Everywhere. Let's get that off the table. Let's stop pretending like we're high and mighty. It's like, oh, I never pencil whip. Yes, you do.
Done it.
Yes, you do. Yeah, everyone's done. I've done it. Everyone has done it. If anyone tells you they have not, they are absolutely lying to you because I promise you there is somewhere where they have pencil whipped it, you know? And so, but at the end of the day, so when you discover the problem, doesn't matter who it was who pencil whipped it. Oh, we got to hold them accountable. Does that really matter? In the grand scheme of things, it's like a dog who poops in the carpet. Does the dog realize they pooped on the carpet by the time you find out about it? No. You're gonna go back looking through weeks and weeks of truck checks or whatever to find this person like, oh, this day we can prove that you put 600 psi on the main oxygen 6 times in a row, but then every other crew is putting 500, 400, 300.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, you can absolutely do it. You still have to change the oxygen. You still got to replace that
Mhm.
piece of equipment. You still got to fix it. It's still expired. It didn't change anything that you found out about it. And quite honestly, that person is not the only one who didn't notice
Exactly.
it because you're like, oh, we're going to find one person. Like, you want to know the secret? It's everybody because everybody is afraid that if they speak out against someone, they're going to get
Yeah,
the shoe.
absolutely. And I see that in my full-time job too. And I know for a fact 98% of the people there pencil whip their truck.
Mm-hmm.
I see it
Mm-hmm.
all the time. It's like,
Yeah.
my partner had to
Yeah.
bring a truck back from our headquarters yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Oh yeah, they said everything was working, everything's good." And I said, "Huh, that's funny because we got emergency lights out. We can't be in this truck." She's like, "What do
Yeah.
you mean?" I said, "This light is half full of water. This light up there is half full of water, so they're barely working."
That's blinker fluid. What the hell are you talking about? That's blinker
Should
fluid. It's
I should
low.
drill that out and put it in a container and sell it. That's gold. That's blinking gold.
You're okay. There's water. No, that's the blinker fluid, you idiot. You can't drain that out. It won't work right.
Oh my goodness. But they sent it down. Our management sent that down saying that it was good to go. There was no problems with it.
Yeah.
There is a lot of problems with that truck, and we had inspections today.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, they were able to bring down modules to replace them before they got there.
Yeah. Well, but then here comes the other thing, because then this is the man. So we covered the employee side of pencil whipping is doing your checks and just quickly, yep, scribble, 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 yep, check, good. The management side is saying, oh, that can wait. Oh, that can wait. Oh, that can wait. It's like a chief grade officer who's looking like, I know I have an aging fleet that needs new, fill in the blank. These new headlights, new rotors, new whatever. You can put in any maintenance thing. But you know what? I really have my heart set on this Suffin engine, and I really, really, really want it. So, maybe we can fudge some of the stuff. Maybe we don't have to replace all the marker lights on the ambulance because no one really pays attention to them anyways. Well, maybe we don't have to replace the forestry line because it never really gets pressurized the same way. It never really well, hey, maybe we don't need to replace all of the AFFF foam because when was the last time we really used foam? I mean,
You and I used it not too last year or the year before.
Exactly.
Very,
but that's what
few and far in between.
Yes, and so that's the management side. So we just kind of pencil whip is like, yep, it's good, just get past. They pencil whip it because that stands in the way of where they want to go and where they think they want to go. And this now we've come to a convergence of paths because one is getting in the way of operational stuff, and it's not who you think it is, and one is getting in the way of your success, your future success. And again, it's not who you think it is. The employers are getting in the way of your operational stuff, not properly checking trucks and not making sure everything's stocked and repaired. That's getting in the way of doing operations. The one who's getting in the way of progress is the chief grade, the boss officers, or whoever you want to call them, who like instead of focusing on how do I make sure that my company operationally can run and do its job today, is looking at, well, what kind of calls do I want to be able to do 5 years from now? I would love to have a ladder truck. So how can I make this up? Well, if we just push back all the maintenance by 1 month, which tell me there's departments out there who haven't done that. Tell me there's departments out there and agencies who haven't looked and said, I know we're supposed to do our state inspection of all the ambulances at once, but what if we kind of parse them up so that some get done, I can squirrel away the extra money every month that we would.
Absolutely.
And then whenever your employees are fighting each other and whatnot, you're like, you don't see they're getting in the way of your operations. You honestly don't even care about operationally. You care that you're making the company look bad. And if the company looks bad, the department looks bad, people won't support the department. If people don't support the department, I can't buy the cool toys that would make us feel like we're real departments.
And I these places, I get it's about making money and saving money. But where's the fine line when you draw it? Like, we can't skip on this. We can't and do that. Can't skip for this. Can't skip for that. Your maintenance is these trucks are on the road constantly, especially with private EMS and even city departments too. They're on the road a lot, but not as much as like private. Because like my station, our one truck a month is driving at least 12 to 15,000 a month. It's a lot of miles a month, And when we tell them, hey, there's something wrong with this truck. There's an issue. Something's not right. The back wheel was completely smoking. I don't know if a caliper seized or it's a bearing. And they're like, oh no, it's fine. Just keep driving it. Well, I'm not putting the patient in it no more. And now I'm getting in trouble. Well, it wasn't me, but you know what I'm saying. You're getting in trouble because you're refusing to run calls. Well, it's my safety and a patient's safety. How would you like if the family was following and they see that and you just continue to drive? I'm going to be the first one. They told me to do it. I'm throwing you under the bus. You can deal with them.
Well, and I've been in a failed ambulance before, doing a transport. It ended up being emergency transport where it was a basic unit that we picked up a lady. Her heart rate was something stupid like 20, and she was semi-conscious. We called for a medic assist. They told us the medic assist was on its way. He'll meet you at this place, but go get this patient, and we gotta go. So my partner, we very wisely made the exact decision as basics. Yeah, we gotta go. Let's go. They in our truck, we're driving, and next thing you know, we just start with check engine light comes on. And I remember just yelling back, hey, check engine light came on. Cool, keep driving. Hey, check engine light's flashing. Keep driving. Hey, I'm slowing down. Look, just keep going. Hey, I'm dead. Shit.
I had that almost that same issue last year. You know, when we were leaving, I'm like, that does not sound well. We knew instantly because it was our normal truck. We're in it all the time. And we're like, something's wrong with this truck. Like, there's no check engine light on yet. 45-minute drive down south. Check engine lights on, blinking, and it's really running rough. It's idling rough. Well, we call. No, just go ahead. Just where you guys at? Like, okay, we're in Ashland. We're going to Columbus. Make it work. All right, that's fine. Just let me know if you guys have any issues on the way down there. I'm like, we have issues now.
We hear this. This is our issue.
On, and it's flashing, and it is running extremely rough. I am not taking anyone in this ambulance. He's like, well, you have to. We can't bring you an ambulance. And mind you, it's the weekend. Well, that's not my problem. You guys are the managers. Figure this out. This is what you get paid for. So he finally says, let me pull up the system because they can check all that stuff remotely, which is nice. He goes, oh yeah, cylinder, whatever. And this cylinder's got a misfire. Okay, so you calling us a tow truck? No, you guys got to take that patient to Columbus. Okay, I'll call you when I'm on the side of the road of 71, having Columbus Fire come and get this patient or whoever, because we're not going to make it. They had to tow us from OSU.
You want to talk about bigger bill? How big was the tow bill to go from Wexler and OSU back up to the Akron, Canton, Worcester area?
Oh, no, Cleveland.
Oh, even worse. I mean, that had to have been well over $1,000, $1,500.
Yeah. Well, they ended up making us drive it back because they canceled the tow truck.
Yeah, probably because they realized, oh crap, this is going to cost us.
Oh, it's probably at least a $1,500 tow bill. It would have been.
So in the Army, this is what's weird. This because these are things you forget about when you get off the line unit, and then you kind of go back to a semi-line unit, and you're like, oh, hey, we do this stuff. So when we do our PMCS, or preventive maintenance checks and services, before we take any vehicle out, this applies for any ground vehicle, air vehicle, or whatever, wheeled and tracked, all the same. There is a way, different annotation for each item on the list. You know, there's if I remember right, the options you have are a slash, an X, or I think a dot, if I remember right. But then there's a very special one. And if I remember right, it is the circle, the X with a circle around it. And that is a condition normally deadlined, but a commander or an officer has signed off that you may use that piece of equipment for the mission that you need to. But that we're talking like a lieutenant colonel, an 05, 06 signing off and above. We're not talking about the second lieutenant or first lieutenant who's doing so. No, it's somebody up at the battalion or brigade level who is saying yes. And then they are putting their name, sir or ma'am, to that piece of equipment saying, yes, I certify this is okay to go do whatever they need to do. If they need to drive it to get repaired, cool. There we go. If they need to drive it for whatever mission, cool. And that's the problem that we have on the civilian side, is that we know what the risks are. And actually, military, we know what the risks are too. That's why we don't take them lightly. That's why we get so wrapped up in some of the DEI stuff and whatnot. Because we don't take risks, because we know what risks get us. But civilian side, the people who should be assuming the risk is not the employees, is the employer. The employer is the one who is assuming the risk. You wanted to start a business and fire an EMS, or you as a private ambulance company, cool. You're the one who is going to assume the risk of broken down vehicles. You are the one who's assuming the risk of lost and damaged equipment. You're the one who's assuming the bulk of the risk for mistreatment and mismanagement of care. Yes, your employee can absorb some of that, but you have to realize that you cannot shirk that off. And I think this is a little bit of a tangent here for a second, but this is what drives me nuts about family-based systems. Whenever a company says, we're like a family.
Like you said, that was your instant red flag.
That's an instant red flag. And here's the reason why. So for everyone who's been listening, all like 10, 12 people, but for those who've been listening, wondering like, well, what do you mean this is your red flag? Here it is. The moment your boss tells you, well, we are a team-based family atmosphere, that we work together and we share the success and failures together, that means that what you're saying is, the moment that the company starts to do poorly, I am going to shirk my responsibilities and my guilt and my blame off onto whoever else I can to protect myself. And I'm going to do it under the guise that we're all a team, and it was all one team, one fight. And that is what drives me nuts, because all of a sudden then you have a chief grade officer who makes a really bad decision. I've had this happen to me multiple times, both fire side and military side, where some chief grade officer makes a bad call, and instead of saying, hey, yeah, that was my decision, I got some bad information, but it was my decision and I will take the heat for it. No, they say, well, they told me this and they didn't give me the whole picture, and they didn't let me know, and I couldn't have made a good decision, so it's actually their fault. That is what drives me nuts, because now you're putting them on the hook for something they couldn't control and didn't have the responsibility to control anyways.
Right. Instead of just taking like, hey, this is my fault, this is my fault, and this is our leadership's fault. Instead, a lot of them are, well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. They're putting the blame on everyone else except for them, when it could be, but it also could be that person's fault too. It goes both ways. But like recently, like I just told my partner the other day, I said, we have discussed this in our podcast. What our leadership here is fucking piss poor. And I'm like, and it's irritating. These are the people that are leading us, and they're not doing anything. They sit in that office all freaking day and do nothing.
Well, because that's what we prescribed leadership to be when 15 years ago. I remember. So I had the council, and actually, the guy is actually a little bit older than me, and hopefully one day he discovers this podcast and listens to it. He's down in Texas right now on the border mission. But I remember I got promoted to my E5 sergeant in 2018, and he actually no, it was earlier than that. It was 2017. But anyways, he and I were having this conversation because he was still a Spec 4. I'm talking about how, like, oh, I can't wait until I get my E5. I'm gonna fuck these guys up. I'm like, oh, hold on, whoa, time out. We don't get this rank so that we can shirk off more responsibility. That's the problem with the unit right now as it is. No, we get this responsibility so that we can help better manage soldiers and mentor them and work with them so that we can build them up to be better. And that's what most of us were led to, is that one day you'll be high enough that you'll have kiss my ass power and kiss my ass money, where you don't have to do anything. And that's just not how it works. That's not how the world is meant to work. Like this is why Donald Trump and Elon Musk and whoever owns Rivian and Jeff Bezos and not Andy Wozniak, but Andy Wozniak also, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. This is why they work so hard. This is why they are spending so much of their time watching their companies, giving to charity and whatnot. Pay attention to what's going on, because you never reach a point where you can just go and take vacations constantly, because there's somebody's depending
Right.
on you.
Someone's always depending on somebody too. Somebody's depending on somebody to give them guidance or advice or to lead them. It, and some people, when they get in those leadership positions, they don't want the full responsibility of it. Most people I see is they just want the title, the role, and the pay,
Yes.
but with none of the
Yes.
responsibilities that come with it. Well, you wanted this, now you're getting it. This is what you asked for. Now, let's get going. I've said it before, and I've discussed it with some of my other coworkers. I was like, they need to get rid of them all and start from scratch, because that's what needs to happen, because nothing's getting done. Here we are 2 years with things that have been said, things are going to happen. Where are they? You promised us 2 years ago we were getting things. Now where are they? And then this is causing people to leave. Like they just told us that for now on, we have to call a hospital 15 minutes prior before we get there to call the nurse on the floor to get report. And people are like, well, why? Why are we doing this? Like, is this a big inconvenience for them that they have to talk to us? And like, they're like, this is not okay. And they're like, people were asking legit questions and they have no answers for them. And they've deleted a lot of the comments in there. And I'm like, why are we deleting these comments for everybody to see? I'm that person that I will screenshot them because I don't trust them. And I will repost them because people are like, oh, okay, so now my comment's being deleted. So some great management right there. I'm like, that makes you guys look really sneaky.
Well, and it does, and it's also too. It's because it's what they promise versus what they're actually fixing. Yeah, this is one thing I kind of offended my some of my NCOs over the weekend. Goodbye, Poppy. I kind of offended some of my NCOs over the weekend, unintentionally. But I told them, like, look, I don't care about being the best right now. I don't care about us having the best company or whatnot. And I'm not gonna rah-rah speech up, oh, I'm your new first sergeant. We're gonna do this, we're gonna be a best, never we're gonna set the standard. No, because we cannot set the standard if we can't even do the basic things right. Uniforms, on time, arriving at drill. If we can't do those things right, I'm not even gonna focus on being the best, because it all becomes smoke and mirrors. Because then on paper, I'm spending more time trying to figure out how do we make us look good versus being good. And it's the same thing with you guys, is that your company says, hey, big changes are coming, change is gonna happen, and that's great. But then, you know, there's more to it than, like, what change? Are you gonna start with the huge things that are existential, or are you gonna start with the little things that maybe, like, seem like they don't matter, but
And
actually
sometimes
do?
you have to start with those little things, but in the back, you're working on those bigger changes too. We're gonna change some little things to start off, and then in the background, you're working on those big things. Like I will say, like our biggest thing is a year ago we were promised. Let's take that back. A year and a half ago, we were promised sick days.
Yeah.
Full-time employees would get 6 sick days.
Yeah.
Where? We haven't seen any of that. But in their job posting, it states that full-time employers will get sick days. But you have to have 3 years of service. So what about the ones that been here for over 3 years? Where are those sick days at? And like I told my partner, and the good thing I learned from our mandatory meeting a while back ago, if it's posted in that job description, they have to give it to you by law.
Better be there.
And I was like, I just learned this from this lawyer, and it's in their job posting. We've both been here way over 3 years. Where are our sick days? They're advertising that.
Amazing. You actually learned something from that
The
lawyer.
one thing I learned, I'll give her that. I learned one thing from her, but They promise, oh, no more holdovers. You guys are going to be start getting sent back to your station to do your end of shift days 75 minutes prior to end of shift. That went out the window the day they put it out there.
You have to be so careful, and this has burned me a couple times, and this is like I fought over the weekend on this. Is like you have to be so careful about giving absolutes. Like when you say no more holdovers, that's a very definitive, very assertive statement. That if you don't, the moment you don't hold to it, you're gonna get yourself in hot water.
And it's already happened. Like,
yeah,
they promise, oh, we're gonna do this, do that, do this, do that. Next day, doesn't matter. Like most of the time, like I'm like, I don't care. I'll stay over, especially if I don't have to be at work the next morning.
Yeah.
Screw it. And hey, adds up to my overtime. I'll do it. I don't care. But hey, instead of holding me over 2 hours, ask me, hey, would you be willing? Just some respect, and like they get out there on time every shift. We don't.
Or it's saying, hey, we're going to reduce holdovers and reduce the time of holdovers. Now that gives you a little bit of grace period. It's like, okay, tomorrow you're not doing away with holdovers tomorrow. Yeah. Let's be honest. You said on Monday, Tuesday you are not going to be. You're still getting held over. But if you say, hey, we're going to work on getting held over, keeping you from getting held over. Now that gives you some leeway. It's like, okay, how long are we getting held? We're getting held over an average 2 or 3 hours. Cool. Let's see if in the next 3 months we can get that down to an hour. Let's see if in the next 8 months, 9 months, we can get that down to 30 minutes. Right? Oh, we have 6 crews, 8 crews out of 12 are being held over. Cool. Let's see if over the next 6 months we can get that down to 4 crews.
And I will say, some of our stations geographically, we're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, especially my station.
Yeah.
The only closest hospital, it's a 10-minute drive from our station. But to get to any kind of major trauma center, it's a 45-minute drive. Or same thing with a stroke center or cardiac center. Or if they have to go down south, that's an hour and a half drive, especially if nobody's flying.
Yeah.
We're kind of in the middle of nowhere. There's another station that's kind of the same way. They're kind of middle of nowhere. Their closest hospital is 30 minutes away. And when you get sent to that hospital to go somewhere else, right there's your hour and a half holdover.
Well, and here's the thing too, and this is what drives me nuts. And I realized that it can be very scary, just the same way that for 2 EMTs who are working a heart attack, stroke, mass trauma, or whatnot, it can be very terrifying for some of these Band-Aid stations, these small standalone ERs. Like, crap, we have the stroke, or we had this guy come in from a combat accident. He needs to go, and like, yeah, he needs to go now, and yeah, he definitely needs to go urgently. Let's be honest. But the most secure place for them to be is in a stationary building that is not moving, bouncing down the road at 70 miles an hour. And so to that point, this is where, like, as from a management point, I'm going to look and say, cool. Are they, is putting them in the back of our ambulance, does that lower the care or increase it? And let's be honest, it decreases care. Let's be honest, you go from a physician's level care down to a paramedic level care. That is a decrease in care. The physician can sign off on it, but that's a decrease in care. It's one of the only time we're allowed to accept from higher to lower. And because we couldn't go and give that to an EMT. We would be raked over the coals for that. But this is where, as a management side, you look and say, okay, it might delay by 30 minutes to an hour. But let's get the new crew in and get them, and they're fresh. And they're still at the hospital. By and large, that 30 minutes to an hour does not make the hugest of differences. It's one of those things like where it's like very few times it's like, okay, if we move right now, we're gonna save the life. Very, very infrequently. Most of the time, if you're looking at that and you're looking, how can we save a few seconds here, save a few minutes here, and by a few minutes I mean like less than 30. It's like it's like I had this argument with somebody once on a fire ground because they were complaining that our 2.5-inch hose line, the connection to the bed is all the way up in the back of the bed towards the front of
Mhm.
the truck. And they're saying, well, that's a loss of like 15 feet. And it's like, what if I need that 15 feet? And I looked right at them and said, if you are solely dependent on that 15 feet, you have 200 feet of hose line and you're short, so you have 185 feet of hose line. If with the 2.5, you are solely dependent on that 15 feet, and that 15 feet is what you need to get at, you are somewhere you
Oh,
should
yeah.
not be. You are going somewhere you should not be going because that is if that like if your argument is like, oh, I might need that 15 feet for evacuation or what, if you're down to talk about 15 feet, you're you're going
Yeah.
somewhere you
Yeah.
shouldn't be. Like you're doing something. You're outside spec. And the same thing is like with this. Like if once you get to a certain point, it's like we start penny pinching time and money. It's like we're working at the wrong
Yeah,
thing here.
absolutely. And, it just makes things frustrating, you
Hmm.
know? Sometimes I just throw my hands up in the air and I'm just like, "I'm done." So,
Hmm.
'cause they don't listen.
No.
Sometimes they just they'll listen to you, but they don't take anything into consideration, especially when it's the ones that rarely call and complain about something and not the
Hmm.
ones that are it's every shift that they work calling to complain. Like my group chat with some of my employees, again, holdovers. Funny, we're talking about that. They're complaining about being held over. One girl has a no holdover. She's off an hour and she's in Cleveland going to Youngstown.
Yeah.
But I also
And
told
it.
my partner, I was like, but thing is,
Mhm.
she didn't stick up for herself and say, "Hey,
No.
I have a no holdover. I can't do this." That's her fault.
Yes.
But it also, I will say, up in our dispatch center, they can see which people, are off at what times and if they have a no
Hmm.
holdover or not. So
Hmm.
it's both parties' fault, but also, hey, speak up, stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
Don't just blame them. You got to blame yourself too because you didn't say something. And I see that
Yeah.
a lot
Well.
in my full time. They want to blame everybody else, but they're not taking accountability of what they've done or what they could have done. Just like when I had a call about our broken cot.
Hmm.
As I actually said, no, what? I don't want to make this phone call. You can make the phone call. You're the
Yeah.
supervisor.
Yeah.
you know?
Well. And you bring up two things. That number one, in this toxic family atmosphere that we've created, you were discouraged from that. I remember, and this is one of the worst things. My I'm not going to give too much details to who, but somebody who hired me, was part of the hiring committee, pulled me aside after I accepted the job, accepted the position. This is part time. This isn't even full time. And they said because I was in the pipeline for two other departments on their full times positions, and they said, "Well, you're not just going to leave us to go to these full time jobs, are you?" I'm like, "Well, no, I didn't intend on." It's like, okay, good, because we're getting it really hurts us whenever you part-time guys come in and then you leave us for X city, or you go off. It's like wait. So in other words, so if I do decide to go take other cities test or other cities job, which I lost it partially because that was what was going through my mind, but don't come and tell you because you're going to punitively act against me because your personal feelings have gotten in the way of everything else. And then second of all, it's like you have to communicate issues from the ground up. And this is something that was brought up, like talking to some of my soldiers. They said, hey, communication is like at all-time low. We don't know what's going on. Cool. Yes. So communication is at an all-time low. We can fix that. But now I also need to make sure the communication at the top isn't bad either. And that, we don't have it going both ways. And I have to ask questions, very specific questions, so I can figure out where is the communication issue, not just saying we don't know how to communicate. You need to do better.
Sorry,
Yeah.
we were discussing about what we were just talking about.
Yeah. It's like
Because like I just said to them, I'm like, well, why didn't they stick up for themselves? The one
yeah.
girl's off at 7 o'clock, supposed to be off at
Uh-huh.
6, or is it
Yep.
7? Whatever. And another one is
Yeah.
got a 2-hour drive back down southern Ohio, central Ohio,
Yeah.
actually. And I said,
Mhm.
well, why didn't they call and stick up for themselves? I'm like, this is both parties' fault right here.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it when you're not doing something you can fix. Like, if dispatch don't want to handle it, all right, I'm calling the supervisor. Hey, I have a no holdover and I'm in Cleveland trying to be sent to Youngstown. My partner is
Yeah.
from Central, we'll just say Columbus,
Yeah.
and they're off at 7 o'clock too. Now they're getting held over 2 hours because of
Yeah.
this. You got to take those steps. You got to stick up for yourselves, because if you don't,
Yes.
they're just going to keep doing it over and over again until you say no.
Well, and then when you say no, it's not just a, oh, sorry, we didn't realize. No, it's a, what do you mean no?
Yes.
It's always been okay. You know how many times I've been said, well, it's always been okay up to this point. And it's like,
Yep.
like, no, it hasn't. I'm just fed up enough now to actually speak up and say something. But no, it hasn't been okay up to this point. And that's kind of that's half the problem, is that we have created this realm, this atmosphere, um where we create this realm, this atmosphere where you cannot stick up for yourself because that is like a breach of someone's authority. It's like, no, it's, if you're gonna be the jackass that have to open door policy, then you can also be a jackass who lets somebody exercise that and come to you and say, hey, I can't do this.
Yesterday, they sent a girl up from Columbus to our station because she had no partner, and we didn't do anything all day. We went and helped another crew do a lift assist. That was it. And then they were trying to give us a patient going out of the hospital going up to Akron. And I'm like, hey, we're not doing this. I know there's other calls coming out of Worcester. My partner's from Columbus. This is going to hold her over like 2.5 hours. I'm like, that's not fair. You were told not to give us this one. Why'd you give us this one? Give us the one that's local. Well, this one is a transfer. Well, also, it's a 45-minute drive to get to Akron. So, and she's off at 10 o'clock. We won't be getting back to our station till 10 o'clock. That means she ain't getting out till like 1 a.m.
Well, and then that's the thing too, is that, like, you magic word, this is a transfer. This is not an emergency. This is not somebody will die if they don't go. If you're transferring from hospital to, say, nursing home, that's not an emergent transport. That is an as needed transport.
Prime example of our dispatching manager is the one that's holding them over, even when she was the one that approved a no holdover for this person.
Oh, how it changes, especially, you know what though, and this is where I want to start to land this plane, but, like, the main problem here is not that you have calls coming in. Calls come in. That's not the problem. You are not adequately managing who you have to run those calls. Like, that's the problem here. It's not that, like, oh, we got this call and it has to go 45 minutes north somewhere. No, that's not the problem. The problem is that you let this unit sit for however long. You let other units sit for however long, and now you have to make that unit do something, and they're the only ones left because you took the unit who should have been doing the one or two back and forth between here in Youngstown, here in Columbus, and you gave them all these short trips, and then you had to send someone else out, and now you have no one else to use. You didn't look and say, oh, hey, we have 5 transfers from a hospital to a nursing home. They could be basic transports. Let's actually send these in a cohesive way. No, you just sent whoever you
that's
could.
how it is, because we've discussed like there's transfers coming out of the hospital, but yet they want to send these discharges out first. Like, sorry, but those don't take priority over a trauma transfer or a stroke or a STEMI. And they're like, well, we want to get these done out as sooner, then you can do that. I'm like, no. You don't understand. These 3 little discharges is going to take me 2.5 hours. This one transfer is going to take me 1.5 hours, maybe 2 hours. We'll come back and they're like, no, can't do that. I'm like, well, then you can tell the hospital, because it puts us in a bad spot. Well, why are you guys here for this one but not taking that one? Call our dispatch.
Well, we've had to do this with one of our nursing homes, that They will call us at all hours for everything. Abnormal labs, toe pain, not acting right, you name it. And only a small percentage of them are actual like hospital necessary transports. The rest of them are you need to call a private and wait the 2 or 3 hours to transport this person out. It's like, and it's the same thing too. It's like, so we're doing your BS nonsense transporting this person who doesn't really need transported emergently to the hospital. And then we drop a structure fire. And then we drop a trauma. We drop an accident. We drop something else. Now we have no one else to actually address that issue or address that call because we're out on this. It is a straight up abuse of the system. But I take it the whole situation is like manifesting.
I just told him, I was like, it's funny because we were just talking about this and then this arised. And I'm like,
yeah,
look, coincidence? I don't know. But I'm like, I gotta go. It's just things gotta change.
Yes.
And they gotta stop taking advantage of people too. You gotta look at the bigger picture. And like I said earlier, we can fix this. Let's not start with the bigger ones. That's gonna take time. A lot of time. Let's start with the small ones, little by little, then work it. It's a step process.
Yes.
And then let's go from there. Your bigger issues, it's going to take the most amount of time. Little ones like, hey, you get held over, we're throw some kind of incentive out there. Like, hey, I'd like an incentive. It's like, hell, hey, you got held over 2 hours. We're going to pay you a double time and a half for those 2 hours you got held over.
Yeah.
Shoot, sign me up.
Or hey, you're on a truck that does all basic trips. Hey, your next day, you're coming in at, instead of coming at 6, come in at 7. Come in at 8. We'll pay for the whole day, but come in at 8. This is what kills me. So this is what I tried to bring this up over the weekend because there's a technique actually to addressing problems like this. It's getting worse, isn't it?
Oh my god. I just put them on do not disturb. It's terrible. It's bad.
So there's actually a technique to this process. And the technique is you separate out all the things you need to do in a company into 3 categories. The immediate, I have to do these like in the next 3 to 6 months or things will go under. The next, I have to do these next 6 months to a year. And then the final ones are basically at convenience. If I don't get them in the next year, they will start to become a problem, right? And what you do is you take 3 or 4 of the big ones, that are going to cause catastrophic failure, 2 or 3 of the like ones that will eventually cause a catastrophic failure, and then take 1 or 2 of the least ones, and you work on those simultaneously. Because the ones that are in the bottom tier should be pretty quick to fix and pretty quick to make happen. The ones in yellow will be the ones people see the most of because they're enough to cause a problem, but they're easy enough for you to fix. And then the red ones will take a lot of effort. And that's how you work through the list. And it's a technique used by many companies to addressing problems.
And like you said, categorize them. Lay it out for you instead of just, oh, okay, I know this is wrong. You got it wrote out or on some kind of spreadsheet and then go from there. Your biggest ones, keeping your employees, maintenance, equipment. Those are your biggest ones right there. How we going to fix all that? Those are the most immediate ones right there.
Yep.
Stupid little stuff like, little station maintenance stuff. That's not going to be detrimental to the station. Well, we can definitely push that off. Oh, hey, there's an outlet falling out of the wall next to a sink. We should probably get that taken care of.
You should probably fix it. But also too, like some of the easy ones. So like, what it does to a station whenever you go and say, hey, how many light bulbs you need? Oh, I think we need 8 or 10. Cool. We'll have a company out there next week to fix them. And you get somebody out. I mean, you laugh, but like when they come in and they also like, oh shit, they fix all the lights. Yeah.
You know, it's funny you bring something like that up. We've been
Uh-huh.
our bay has 2,
Mhm.
4, 8 big LED lights in there.
Yeah.
6 of them have been out for almost 8 months.
Mhm.
We almost working in the dark out there.
And if the company were to just come and send somebody out to replace those
Instead of going
bulbs or
through the
ballasts or
landlord,
whatever, yeah,
it could have been fixed
it
already. And I offered to help buy those same exact lights that they just have to reimburse me.
Mhm.
They said, no, here we are 8 months later,
Yeah.
almost working in the dark. I'm like, it's just those little things like, oh my God, hey, the lights were fixed and we just said something 2 days ago about it. Sweet. You know, I asked for new paint for the station, even paint, man, refresh it. Makes people feel good.
Yeah.
It's a psychological thing.
Yeah. Those are easy fixes. You go out and repaint the lines in the parking lot, and all of a sudden people come in, oh man, they did something to the parking lot. They made it look
Yeah.
nice. Oh no, they just freaking repaint lines, but
Psychological.
it doesn't. Those are the little one or two things that you'll do that like people like grab on a little bit.
Yep.
You know, hey, the station maintenance closets are a little messy. Hey, you spend a little bit of money and come in on a Saturday or Sunday or late Friday and put in new
You
shelves,
better
and all of a
not
sudden
touch
like
my closet, that's for sure.
they're touching your
I will
closet, hands all over, lick, lick,
They will be missing fingers if they touch my tools in my closet. That's a fact. I'll promise that.
But it's this thing though. It's like if you go in and you straighten up the
Yeah.
station, it does a
It
lot
does.
for people. It's like, oh hey, we actually care a
A
little
little
bit
bit of morale.
about this. Yeah. This was when I worked for a private ambulance company. There's one station. Well, there's two stations that were falling apart, but one definitely was like a bare minimum, almost condemned building. Is how bad it was. Um, and but if they had just put $10,000 into that building just for paint, lights,
Yeah.
floors, and maybe just a little bit of exterior cosmetic work, it would have been fantastic.
It's funny you say that because that's what our owner did with our station. He
Mm.
put, I believe he sunk about 10, 12 grand into our upstairs so we
Yeah.
could use it as well. We're not even
Yeah.
allowed up there. So you repainted
What?
it, re-put the floors, put new toilets in there, a new urinal, fix the showers up there and sinks.
Yeah.
Only way we're allowed up there is to go take a crap because that's the crapping bathroom because nobody wants to smell everybody's poo downstairs. You know, because
Okay.
it's like a room like this.
Yeah.
Everybody,
Yeah.
that's our crew room.
Yeah.
But there's just a refrigerator up there, and we're allowed to keep our food, but we're not allowed to hang out up there
Yeah.
because there's no cameras. They can't watch us.
Yeah. Which I mean, we've already
Yeah.
kind of touched on that. That's an issue already.
I get there's no cameras, can't see what we're doing up there. I get it. But I go outside. You can't see what I'm doing out there. There ain't no cameras out there either. I sit outside in the sun all day.
But at the point, but at the end of the day, it's like, then why would you have spent that
Exactly.
money except for
Yep.
the look? It's like you have to not only spend the money, but you have to follow
Yes,
through and
absolutely. Yeah.
if you're gonna spend all the money on your station and you're gonna put this nice little like fire ring in the back with a patio and whatnot, you better be damn sure that you're letting your guys use it to cook dinner or to have their little propane
Yep.
fire, or whatever. You better be damn sure you're letting them do it because you provided for them. Otherwise,
It's a waste of money.
it's a waste of
Yep.
money and space.
Absolutely.
It's like chairs that no one sits in, trash cans
We
no one
started with
uses.
those.
They exist
$50
everywhere.
chairs off Amazon. They're junk. They last about 6 months, and that's it. I'd rather sit on the concrete floor. Let me put it that way. But I have my own chair there, and people knows to keep their little butts out of it.
Now it's amazing because there's
Yeah.
little things that you can do, and we're not even talking about the existential company turning upside down, shaking up things. We're just talking about little things. Getting crews out to get their oil changed every once in a while. First of all, it gives them a
Yeah.
break. Hey, send them down to a station. Don't make them switch into a truck. Hey, you get the next 25-minute break while mechanic does
Yep.
the oil change.
Our mechanic,
Congratulations.
they used to come to all the stations 'cause they
Mhm,
had a huge truck, but everything
mhm.
was inside they need, just like the roadside assistant trucks for the semis.
Yeah.
And then it broke down and it was cost too much to replace. So they
Mhm.
went out and bought another truck. They paid like 25 grand for that. Lost money on that because it was too big. I'm like, what are you guys doing? But it was nice when they would come down here. Hey, you guys can't be doing anything for the next, X amount of time. Got to do your truck first.
Yeah,
It was nice, but when
yeah.
we get sent up there, usually they try to put you in another truck for like it's an oil change. It takes like 20 minutes. It's nice to sit down, relax a little bit, get that good break, and then
Yeah,
go back out.
yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes that's all it
It's a
takes
it's
is a good 20-minute break.
yes,
Like we don't
yes.
get breaks a whole lot, but also there's times we sit around and do nothing for 4 or 5 hours, and people get
Mhm.
mad that oh I didn't get lunch or didn't get a break. You sat around for the last 4 or 5 hours doing
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
I don't want to hear it.
W Yeah. Well, and then too is like managing out your people effectively. So your eight we talked about before, your 8-hour cars. I'm sorry, if you're an 8-hour car in private ambulance company, you're
Yeah,
going to
see ya.
work. You should be doing all the local transports. You should be doing all the BS stuff that's dialysis, to and from doctor's appointments, whatever it is that private ambulance still does. If you're the 12, 14-hour car, yeah, you're probably gonna be doing some of the
Yeah.
longer trips. You know, and then your ALS cars, they're 24 hours. They're handling your
Yeah.
premium stuff because that is their role. That don't do not cross pollinate. I know it could be very that's like my favorite term to use, but do not cross
I like it.
pollinate. And I know it could be really tempting to take the 8-hour car. It's like give them the trip to
Mhm.
Columbus, give them the trip to Cleveland or trip to
Do
Cincinnati
the
or
one and
wherever.
done. No, that's not how it should
Yeah,
happen.
do not do that because yeah, you're getting one call, but you're only getting one call for that 8-hour
Yeah.
car.
And
It doesn't map
no, it
out.
doesn't. Not at all. And like our biggest issue is with us posting down at the hospital for
Mhm.
11 and a half hours of the day. There's times there's these crews are doing no calls out of there.
Mhm.
So you're paying two people for 12 hours to, to
Mhm.
sit there and run no calls.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you're losing money on this from the
Mhm.
paying their wages and the fuel costs and then the maintenance
Yeah.
costs from that
Yeah.
truck. You've lost money, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's to me. I'm like, this is stupid. I'm like, to me, financially, as a businessman, I'm like, no, we're not doing that because I'm losing
I
money
can
on
count on
this.
I can count on one hand the number of times when I worked private ambulance as a medic truck. I can count on one hand the number of times that we posted that we actually went and did a call, but that call wasn't in the area we were posting. The call was actually back in our service
Huh.
area. Like, and that's how like so so if you manage your trucks correctly, you have your 24-hour trucks. That's your posting trucks. They stay at your stations. They're on for 24 hours. Those are your quote unquote posts. You don't need to post up
Mhm.
anywhere else. Why do you need to post another car somewhere else? Because because it looks cool. It's free business or free
Yeah.
free advertising. But it's like it doesn't
No.
do anything because it takes them out of their service area to go and cover another
You know,
service area.
and people at my place, they'll complain, oh, they're pulling us out of our coverage area. We don't have just a certain coverage area
Yeah,
for our station. It's
yeah,
all over the state.
yeah.
And I have told them multiple times, I'm like,
Mhm.
you are just not a Wooster car.
Yeah.
You're a physician's car.
Yes. Well, and there's another problem that you run into because now you've gotten to be too
Yeah.
broad. Because now, I mean, this is why fire districts have become a thing.
Hmm.
That's why fire departments serve only a municipality. Because at some point, yeah, it makes sense. Like, oh, you are a physician's car, you can go anywhere. But it doesn't make sense for a Worcester car to drive up to Strongsville to run calls if you've got contracts now in Worcester. Now, if you don't have contracts in Worcester, then why do you have a Worcester station?
Exactly.
Now we can address the next issue of like if you are somewhere you shouldn't be,
Yeah.
move.
And, and like we've told these people, it's like, we got to go where the calls are at.
Yeah.
Worcester is very slow at times. Sometimes they put out multiple people a day when they're extremely busy. Sometimes it might be 2 or 3 in 12 hours. That's it. But they're not gonna have 4 crews sitting at the station doing absolutely nothing when they might need help up in the Cleveland area,
Mhm.
or in the
Yeah.
Ravenna area. It's like, it's
Yeah. It doesn't make
yeah, that's
sense.
what we tell them. Like, it does make sense for us to all be here. That's why you're
Yeah.
going here, you're going there, and we stay here. Or
Mhm.
we're going there and someone else is staying here. And they get
Mhm.
mad because they're getting pulled. I'm like, no, all these, I think it's like we cover like 30 some counties. Those are all
Mhm.
our service area.
Well, and that brings back up when I did private ambulances. Like we were in Worcester
Mhm.
too, off of 585 Porter Street, and it was, and but we would always go
Mhm.
to Canton to run calls. It's like we never did anything in Worcester. It's like, and they tried to keep us at one point in time in Worcester when I first started, and it didn't work. You had cars just sitting there doing absolutely nothing. I'm not saying that nothing's happening in
Right.
Worcester, but comparatively to Akron, Canton, Cleveland, Youngstown, Mansfield, it's, you know, it's not the same call volume. So they finally got smart and realized, oh, hey, we need to close down the station. This is after I left, but they closed down the station. They also have one up in Barberton. Guess what? They closed that station too. And they put everyone in the Canton Massillon area in Alliance. Why? Because that's where your call
Correct.
volume is. That's not, now you're not bringing people 25, 30 minutes from any different direction. They're
Yeah.
already there. There's no reason to have them everywhere else.
Mm-mm. And some people just don't realize, don't understand that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say last summer, they were, when it was very, very slow, they were cutting
Mm-hmm.
crews. And when crews were saying, no, I'm not going home, they're like, "You- 3 hours for the end of your shift. Like, shoot, I'll see you. Goodbye. I'm out.
Yeah.
Bye." You
Yeah.
know, I'm not going to argue that because that's a rare thing to happen for us. But I'm like, you guys been sitting around doing nothing for the last 6 hours. They're
Yeah.
not going to, you got to look at a business standpoint. Why are you going to pay all these
Mm-hmm.
people
Mm-hmm.
to sit here and do nothing? You got to
Yeah.
save money.
Well, hell, even like Amazon will do that where they'll send you home. Like if they're going to do maintenance and they schedule you, now they've gotten better about it. They just close now when they do maintenance. But for a while they were open and they do maintenance. If you schedule a shift, they would pay you for that shift. But it's like, hey, it is more cost effective for us just to pay you since you were already arrived there, and then turn the lights off, and then you go home and our guys go and do their work. It's more cost effective to just
Yeah.
turn the lights off. Which again, it's but again, whenever you don't you build this family atmosphere, but you don't actually treat anyone like they're actually a part of the family. You treat them like they're just like, oh, that's only so we can spread around.
Yeah. And people see who they really treat as family. And
Yes.
people notice that. And because I hear it all the time through people, like, oh, well, they treat this person better and better than
Mm-hmm.
me and this person. Like, yeah, they do get their own little clique. Absolutely, they do. I see it. I ain't dumb. I've been there long enough. I see it.
Yeah.
They can sit there and deny it, but they do. Like, and you guys got to stop. You got to let
Yeah.
people know, hey, we're here for you. We're here to help you.
Yeah.
Because people see it as they're there for themselves, and some of them
Mm-hmm.
are. And
Mm-hmm.
again, there's a couple of them that should not be in the position they should be in. They don't have enough experience. Definitely don't have enough leadership experience,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just not turning out to be as good as they thought.
One of the hardest things that you have to do as a leader is go to someone, especially someone you put in a position to say, hey, I'm sorry. This is not the position I need you in. I need to take you out of it. Actually, I had this last cycle. My last CST cycle as a senior drill sergeant. And now, mind you, I did it at the absolute wrong time. I was on my way out for the end of the cycle. The cycle was going to continue. And I had made a bad call from the get go. A couple of my drills, they didn't necessarily get along. I put two drills together who they get
Mhm.
along great, but they kind of fed off each other, and not in a bad way, but they fed off each other as in they didn't do good time management. They're both very gung ho about teaching and mentoring, But the problem is that neither of them were going to like really like check each other, like, hey, we gotta do this, or we gotta move on with life. And I tried too late to go to both sets of drills and say, hey, I need to take one of you and send you over to the first platoon. I need to take one of them and send them over here because this is we're causing problems. We're late. We're missing time hacks. I tell you, hey, we need to go, and you guys are still caught in your world or whatever. And it is the hardest thing because, long story short, you have to look and say, hey, I was wrong to put you in that position. That is my mistake, and you gotta eat
Yes.
that. And if you're not willing to eat that, I guarantee you're not going to make any change because that's maybe this is the best place for an hour and 29:57 here. Oh, I know. But this conversation is important because from the leadership standpoint, if you were not willing to eat your mistakes that you made, then your employees are not going to go along with the changes you're willing to bring either. Especially if like the mistakes that you made have been pretty big or pretty damning. It's like you have to be willing to eat your mistakes and say, "Yep, I made that was an error. I realize it was an error. I know it's an error, and I want to fix it."
And that's the problem I see. It's like they're not willing to admit that they screwed up or they were wrong. They just somehow still kind of put it off on you, and they're like, "Well,
Yes.
I don't know what to tell you," type attitude. I'm like, "Well, I told you this was gonna happen to this ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
We kept doing this,
Mm-hmm.
and here we are. You're the one who told me to drive it." But they'll
Yep.
still find a way of getting like weaseling their way out of it. Just like
Yes.
when last week, one of our ambulances, we actually almost responded to the ambulance fire.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me.
Well,
We
needs
talked
a
about
whole
last
new
episode.
rear end,
Mhm.
and the mechanic said, "Why wasn't something said sooner?" And my partner said, "Was the days prior."
Yeah.
And nothing was done about it. It's like now we have to put a whole new rear end in this ambulance.
Mhm.
Thankfully, they had a spare one and didn't have to buy a new one or even a used one. They got lucky on that.
Yeah.
But it could have been a simple fix instead of a 12-hour repair.
Well, and this comes down to I guess probably the place where we really need to. I keep on saying we land this plane, then we go for another 25, 30 minutes. But that at the end of the day, you have to just make a decision and you have to
Yeah.
go with it. At some point you have to be just bite the bullet and
Yeah.
fix it. Like and yeah, maybe you have somebody who's you don't like giving you the input, but that person might be the one who's about to save you from doing something really, really stupid. But now it's again, we're probably going to come back to this topic again because this topic, let's be honest, in the near future, this is not going to go anywhere. For the next I'd say almost 10 years, we'll probably be dealing with
Absolutely.
topics like this, especially with how like how profit oriented we've become. Even as municipalities, we've become super profit oriented and paying attention more to our not just finances but our what's it called, levies and our taxes than we are anything else. But yeah, no, I mean, but for right now, I think that this will be a good like pin in this for right now. We'll return to
Absolutely.
it, but I think it's time for us to move on to Grand Bear things, just as we've been telling everyone else. Time to move on to
Yep.
Grand Bear things. So
Instead of dwelling on it, let's move on.
yes. The one thing I will say about this, and the only reason, my only regret with us dragging out for four episodes is that it's exhausting.
It
It's
is.
exhausting to talk about this because
'Cause
it just
it's what frustrates us the most, the biggest
yes,
part, and we have
yes,
a lot to say about it. But like
hmm
you said, we're gonna still be dealing with this 5, 10 years later from now. You know,
yeah,
it's a pandemic. It really is. It's never going away.
yeah. You can't say that word anymore. That word has connotations.
All right, Burt Reynolds will take care of it.
Oh boy. Next thing you're gonna be trying to tell me you're Sterling Archer or something. Oh no! Oh no! I lost all my things. I was pulling up the magic
Oh,
wheel.
I was like, don't you dare do that to me.
No, we we did not lose that
Oh,
stuff. Hang on a
dog gave
second.
me a heart attack.
I'm glad. You need a
Yeah,
heart
well,
attack.
don't call 911.
Heart attacks are good for the heart and
Dougie
good for
Fresh
the
is there today.
soul. uh, he's there for 20 more
Oh,
minutes.
he
So
wouldn't go on that call anyways.
no. All right, so we're gonna do something we haven't done in a hot minute here. We are going to use the all 125 entries of it. So, all right, click to spin. Round and round and round it goes. Where it stops, nobody knows. Oh, we're skipping that one because we just spent 4 weeks on that. There's no rules to how we do this, but we just spent 4 weeks talking about making changes like that. All right, so here's one: handling conflict. We all suck
All
at
right.
it.
That's a good one.
Okay, you know that's a good one to move on to. So, all right, that feels almost overwhelming just to think about already after the last 4 weeks. But I guess that is the logical direction to go here. So, um, yeah. So next week we're gonna be talking about how we handle conflict or we don't handle conflict because let's be honest, we don't all do a good job. I cannot take you seriously wearing that hat.
You better get used to it. Oh wait, it's almost straw hat season, so
You know, said I can't find my felt hat. I have no idea where it went.
I'm about to take you to Boot Barn.
Uh, I know what kind of hat I need, and it's not one of those. It's what is this called, Stetson?
Hey, you can get a Stetson
So
from Boot Barn too. They're only $369.
I'm not driving all the way to Meadville to get a
One in
Stetson.
Fairlawn and one in Worcester.
Oh,
Yeah,
is there? What's the one I'm thinking of? I'm pretty sure that's the Boot Barn too in Meadville. I think that's the
probably.
first one.
They're everywhere.
But yeah. So all right. Well, this has been an exhausting series, but very important, and I can feel us getting more exhausted as it goes on. So yes. So all right. Well, we'll be back next week, tentatively to talk about how we suck at
Blitz.
what was it? Conflicts. That's right. Suck at conflict. See, we're just mentally drained. So until then, I have been your coordinator shenanigans, Tim.
Cowboy Jeremiah.
You're a silly goose. And this has been Conflict of Leadership Coffee Table Edition. Come back next week and join us in how we talk about solving conflict and why we suck at it.